Good morning. I'm Julie Woodbury, and today I'm going to show you how to start seedlings two different ways. First way that I start seedlings is in a big tray, and I do this when I want to start quite a lot of seedlings, like maybe 50 or 100 per variety, or 25 or 30, something like that. The second way is to use a 6-pack, and I'll explain why I do the two different ways as I go. So to start with, I'm going to take this tray, and it's the trays that we use underneath the plants to catch the water drips. We don't have a greenhouse, we just have light carts. And I just take some tape, write my variety names and whatever other information I want on there. I always write whether they're heirloom, F1, or open pollinated hybrids. And the reason I do that is because I like to save my own seed. So I write that on a piece of tape and then just apply that tape to the sides of my tray. And then I take my potting soil, which is about 2/3 Miracle-Gro potting soil, which I like for the lightness of it. And I also like it because it already has fertilizer in it. And I use about 1/3 Creekside potting soil, which I got at the local hardware store. And the reason I like that is because it has more sand in it, and it gives a better weight and feel to the seeds, or to the potting soil. And I'm just grabbing big handfuls out of my garbage can that I mixed the seeds into, or the soil. And I just fill my tray 2/3, 3/4 of the way full. And then I take this potting soil and smooth it out and press it down. And I like to keep this fairly full because once these seedlings sprout and before I transplant them, the more soil there is, the more moisture they hold. So while they're sprouting, I'll keep them under a dome, but as soon as they sprout, that dome comes off. And here at the school, sometimes the peppers have to take care of themselves for a couple days. And then I'm just going to take, because I want to start 4 different things. I don't have a lot of each of the 4. And I'm just going to take and kind of make a little divot here with my fingers or a ruler so that I can tell where the 4 different varieties are. All right. Now, I have them labeled. This one says Cozumel, F1, 53 days. And the reason I think April 1st is kind of late for peppers. But I got some new seed and saved some of my own seed. And in some cases, it didn't germinate as well as I wanted it to. And so I'm going to show you how I plant one variety of these seeds. And there's 100 seeds in here. I'm going to plant about 35 of them. And one of the reasons that we started planting seeds this way, and I do try and, kind of spread them out a little bit. I always try and keep about 1 inch away from my edges so that I don't get my varieties mixed up. One of the reasons that I'm still planting seeds this way instead of in, maybe the 128s that a lot of people use or different things like that is when I started teaching here and started planting seeds for the community, we didn't have anything. We didn't have 128s. We didn't have 36s. We didn't have anything. We had some old trays and a 2-light light cart. That's it. No greenhouse. And so we started planting this way because it was about all we had. We didn't have time to wait a couple weeks for orders to come in. We didn't really have money to get, to purchase those things. And so we used what we had. And it worked, and we gave away dozens and dozens of seeds or of beautiful pepper and tomato plants that year to the community. And the community really appreciated those. And so we just kept doing it that way. We figured if it wasn't broke, why fix it? So you can see I have my seeds planted here, and I've got, I don't know, quite a few, maybe 35. I often don't count. And what I'm gonna do is just take a couple handfuls of my potting soil. Peppers are about 1/4 of an inch deep, and I'm going to sprinkle about 1/4 of an inch of potting soil over top. Looks like I need one more handful. And I pat it down moderately firmly. Don't get too carried away. There. And now my Cozumel peppers are planted. And the last thing that I need to do is to water them. I have, again, we don't have access to specialty water systems or filters or things like that. We're on city water. And so we take just an old jug, a Sunny D jug or whatever, a gallon jug, and we fill it with tap water and we leave it sit on the counter overnight so that at least some of the chlorine that's in the water will dissipate. And again, we've been using this method for quite a long time and it's been working, so we keep doing it. For these seedlings, I'm going to put the lid onto that Sunny D jug that we poke holes in with a nail, and I'll use that to carefully sprinkle the top. Once the seeds have sprouted, they have enough root that they can handle being watered with just a watering can. And so we'll do that once they've sprouted. I'll show you the watering later. The other way that I start seeds is when I don't need very many. So there aren't a lot of people around here that plant eggplant, and so I'm going to be, I've got the wrong one listed here. I'm going to be planting eggplant, and I just want 6 packs of eggplant. So I have these trays that are, there's 36 of them in, they're kind of hooked together, but they break apart pretty easily like that. And I'm going to start this, shoot, where did it go? Shooting Stars eggplant. I'm going to plant this Shooting Stars eggplant in here. And to do this one, all I do is roughly the same thing, but it takes more time. The one benefit to this is I won't have to transplant them. I won't have to, pot them up into individual 6 packs. But we are very limited on room here, and so I like to keep things as compact as possible. We could plant all of our peppers and tomatoes like this and save one step of transplanting, but we just don't really have room to do that. And so I'm going to just fill this level full, or maybe not quite, and then press that down to firm it. I don't know, I grew up farming. I was always taught that a good firm seed bed was very important. And again, this method has been working for us, so why change it? And then I'm going to take my seeds and I'm going to put a single seed. I'm always tempted to put 2 in here. What if they don't grow? Well, we just have 1 or 2 less eggplant. And I'm just going to put 1 eggplant per cell. It's a 6-pack. So I'll have 6 eggplant. This is Shooting Stars. It's supposed to be ready in 53 days. And that's important in North Dakota where we live. That's maybe a little too much. And again, a 1/4 inch. I think you can get by with a little less soil on top. But remember that you got to keep these moist, and that soil on top does help with that. And firm that down just a little bit. A label, eggplant, shooting stars. And what I'm putting on my labels is the plant, eggplant, the variety, shooting stars, and then I do try and make sure that I put whether it is F1, which means hybrid, or the word hybrid, the date that I plant them, and whether it's an heirloom or not. This one doesn't say, so I don't know what it is, so I probably won't. Oftentimes, if they're a hybrid, they will say F1 or hybrid. If they're an heirloom, they will say so. And if they're not, they're probably, but not certainly, open pollinated. And I'm just going to apply this. We are having some trouble with water, kind of erasing our labels. So I did get some plant stakes, but under our lights, they tend to get knocked over. And that's why we've been using the tape, because it doesn't get knocked over and bumped around. And then we know what we're planting. Give me 1 second to go grab some water. So here's the lid we use. And again, this is just a Sunny D lid that has had holes poked in it. If you use a hot nail or something like that, you'll probably have less tearing and whatever, more even holes. Now remember, I've only planted the Cozumel peppers here, so I only want to water that section. And I'm just going to take this and just dribble sprinkle it on. The even my nice little watering can, which has a lovely small spout, is likely to put too much water on. Water that ends up kind of washing seeds maybe too deep, maybe it washes them upward so that they're not covered at all, those kinds of things. So this, again, it's been working, so we're just not going to change it. Okay, there are my planted seeds. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tray and I'm going to put a clear cover on it and put it under the lights. Now these clear covers should actually get, this one doesn't fit quite right. These clear covers should actually get some moisture on the inside. You don't want it to have too much moisture because then you can get mold or different things like that. Ours don't fit well enough to get too much moisture. And you don't want them to be super dirty like this one is. And the purpose of this cover is to just reduce our work. It's going to keep those seedlings nice and, or those seeds nice and moist and the seed bed nice and moist until they germinate. I'll be putting a cover on that as well. And we will go take them and put them under the lights. Now, this is what they look like when they're all ready. These were planted yesterday. They haven't germinated yet. And it doesn't really matter how close the lights are. We have all of our lights on the same timer, and they're at 16 hours on, 8 hours off. But your lights should be just a few inches from the tops of your seeds. We're in the process of transplanting these out. The students are doing that. Some of it's done, some of it's not. And so they look a little messy, but we're going to get to all of these. And when we transplant these, we're putting labels on each six-pack, on each six-pack so that that label doesn't get lost. And we will show you in the next video how we do the transplanting. Have a good day.